Alright, so we're going to take a look at 2.6 paired animations component and how to get things going on the character and the target blueprints. So let's talk about the target blueprint first. So the first thing you want to do for your enemy or your NPC or whatever the character is going to be initializing a paired animations on, you want to add in an arrow component to the character mesh. And you want to give it a tag right here called Paired Anim. And you want to make sure it has no rotation values. And that's all you need for the target blueprint. As for the owner, that's going to initialize the paired animations. So if a player is going to execute this enemy, they will need the anim component. So we will go ADC paired, and then we will add in the paired animations component. And you want to make sure to add in a tag player into the blueprint as well. And you want to make sure your combat blueprint or whatever is going to be your equipment, like that's going to hold the knife, that's going to hold the sword or a weapon, whatever it is that's going to be used to identify which montage we want to play. You want to give it equipment tag for the actor, for the child actor. Okay, now doors and chests data table. So now doors and chests have their own data table, so different skeletons can play different montages on doors. As for this is just an example. It's gonna be up to you to populate these settings here. So let's take a look at. I'll first talk about the data table, then we will go into the components so you can understand how to populate it. So this is what I was talking about. So the self-equipped weapon. This is going to be the combat blueprint. That's that's attached to the character mesh of the owner. And the target. This is the target victim that's going to receive the animations. So these two right here, they are used to identify which row of the data table we are going to use. So when we fire a line trace, we are going to check, is this the actor that got hit, or is this a skeletal mesh that got hit, and do we have this weapon? Okay, we have these two, then use this row. And we want to turn off collisions for these channels on the capsule component for both the target and the owner. So you want to turn off the pawn, so the capsule component can just intersect with each other and overlap with each other with no problem, and the animations can play properly. Next, self-offset. So you might look at these numbers and you might be wondering, what the hell does this mean? Basically, this is like, how should I explain this? Basically, you have a maximum of 360 degrees to rotate a character, right? So the way this system works, it takes 360, divides it by 16, and it increments slowly up to 360. That way you have as close of an interpolation as possible, so it doesn't look jittery, doesn't look snappy when an animation is triggered on the enemy. And I'll just launch Paint right here so you can understand why this is good. I should have prepared a little bit better for this tutorial, but I'll talk about it right now. Let's pretend this is the character that's going to be the victim. Okay, or actually let's do this 2D. This is the character that's going to receive the animations. Okay, and let's change it to red. So now let's pretend we are facing the front. We are facing the front of the target victim. So the way the system works, it takes an angle like this, so this is going to be 90, this is going to be minus 90, and it's gonna take another angle like this, and this is going to be 0, and this is going to be 180, and it's gonna take another angle like this, and this is going to be, I don't know, 45, yeah, minus 45 and something here, and then bam, like this. And it goes another extra step by putting in more angles like this, and like this, and like this. So in total we have, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 angles to play animation montages from. I hope that explains it. I should have prepared a little bit. So let's talk about the offsets here. What do they mean and how you can make use of them? I'm gonna talk about iClone. So this is an animation I made that's supposed to be for 180 degrees. So I rotate the character by 180 degrees, the target character. And right here I offset the owner by 38, but this is not correct. I later found out it's better to apply this value onto the target like this, and then we zero out the owner, the one that's going to initialize the animation, and only the target will have the values. So if you are going to move the target by minus 38 on a 180 degree animation, you will need to go back into the data table, find the 180, and put in 38 in here, and that's going to be applied not to the target but to the character that's going to initialize the animation. So there is a trick to getting things right and proper with iClone. For some reason, when you apply values here and you transfer the animations to Unreal, it thinks that this is offset from the root bone. Not sure why. So what you need to do, once you're done and happy with the animation you made, you need to first capture the animation of the owner. And then once you're done with the animation of the owner and it's transferred to Unreal, you need to go here, linkage on the owner, pick parent, on the target, hit the target, go on these 3 dots, find the root bone, select the root bone. Now the owner is attached or linked to the target. And why that's important? Because of root bone problems. And now we need to go here and reset the values of the target to 0, and and the owner is still going to be attached. This is important because if you're using iClone and you're using things like look at camera, or you're using reach, or you're using spring, it's not going to capture those values properly unless you go through this method. Okay, once the values are zeroed out, you transfer the animation to Unreal and it's done proper. So in short, when you are done with the animation, make sure that these values are reset and zeroed out. And that's pretty much it for these offsets. Angle interp. So each angle here, or actually let's talk about how you can understand these angles better. So I'm gonna just Control Z really quickly. Yeah, let's go back to here. Let's pretend we just opened a new project. We have 0 rotation on the owner, we have 0 rotation on the target. What does this mean for the data table? Because there is no 0 here. There's only 22.5 all the way to 360. So here 0 means 360. That's what that means. So if it's 360, you are behind the target. And why? Because the way it understands the angle, it takes the angle of the owner that's looking towards the target, and it checks if that angle in relation to the target. So when you start with 0, it's 360. Keep that in mind. And when you're done with 0, you go 22.5. Like that. Okay? And once you're done with 22.5, you go with 45. Once you're done with 45, you go 67.5, and you keep going until you get to 360, and you get all your animation montages done like that. And basically, the owner is not supposed to move at all. Alright, I hope that clears things up. Now back into the angle interp. So each angle can have its own interpolation speed. So let's go back to 180. So if we are facing the front of the target, we should use this kind of character movement component move speed. So this will be applied on the owner, the one that's going to initialize the paired animations, and the stamina to burn. So reason why I added this is for a different aspect of this component I'll get to in a second. So curve speed, this is just to multiply the speed of the curve. So the way this curve works is on the controller camera of the owner, and also the actor rotation if it's not a character. So let's open it and see what it's doing. So from 0 to 1 in 0.5 seconds. You see? So in 0.5 seconds we are going to make sure we are looking at the proper angle of the target. That's pretty much that. And if it's supposed to be like a very aggressive animation, of course you're gonna want to multiply it, make it faster. CMC move speed, pretty self-explanatory. Again, if it's an aggressive animation, you want to increase the character movement component speed. And stamina to burn. So if we don't have enough stamina, something else is gonna happen. Here we have self-success montages and we have failed montages. So if we don't have enough stamina, we're gonna play these animations. And you can customize this in your own way. So it can be multiple Boolean checks. Let's take a look at that right here. Right here, additional checks for success. So it doesn't have to be just stamina. It can be like different Booleans that's checking, oh, do we have the actual, I don't know, perk to do this animation? Do we have the required quest item to do this animation? Things like that. And if we don't, then we play the failed montages.